I find it hard to believe how well organised it was. It was chores written up, we had chore sheets.
Jack Hugh's story, right from his childhood, has been an endless source of sad tales, providing a glimpse into the struggles that he had to go through to reach his present status as a well-known actor and star. However, even beyond his star status, life seems to still have a lot of lemons for the actor. Join us as we uncover some of the sad realities that Jackman has had to face throughout his life. Born on the 12th of October 1968 in Sydney, Australia, Jackman was the youngest of 5 children in a household full of love and struggle. His parents were British immigrants, Christopher and Grace Jackman. Thus, Hugh grew up in a tight-knit and religious family. But when Jackman was only 8 years old, his mother abruptly left the family to move back to England, leaving his father to raise the children alone. This would define so much of Jackman's early years and emotional growth, planting seeds of resilience and anger he would harbor well into adulthood and channel into acting. Without warning, Grace made her way back to England, and later Jackman remembers how he received news of his mother being gone when he came back home from school one day. Being the youngest, the absence was deeply felt. He would later speak candidly about feelings of abandonment and the anger he held toward his mother in interviews. In support of the family, Christopher Jackman, his father, was left to manage the household as a single parent and made sure his children continued with stable lives. Christopher's commitment became an example to be followed for Jackman, who instilled in his life the values of perseverance and discipline while still fighting the inner storm due to separation from his mother. Although he had shown interest in becoming a journalist, Jackman's university education would prove to be pretty multifaceted. He attended the University of Technology, Sydney, and upon graduation in 1991, he got a communications degree. He had no idea which career he wanted to pursue. Little did he know that his calling was yet to come, and in his last year in university, out of all possible electives, he had a class in drama. This experience turned out to be so strong that it stirred up an interest in acting. He applied for an institution in Perth, the Western Australian Academy of Performing Arts, which was among the reputed ones giving all the training that he needed. All this rigorous training would then lay the solid foundation on which Jackman could nurture such discipline and skill for acting. He realized that acting was not just about performance, but about the emotional associations of life, which he could get to and express through acting. During his time at WAPA, the tutors knew straight away that Jackman was the real deal. He had that ability to hold any audience in his thrall. Disciplined and focused, he would throw himself wholeheartedly into whatever exercise or scene was at hand. It was grueling, with its long hours and packed curriculum, yet he felt alive and more himself than he had ever been before. Shortly after his graduation in 1994, Jackman launched into the professional world of Australian television and theatre. His first major role on TV came in 1995 for the ABC series Corelli, co-starring Deborah Lee Furness. This was Hugh Jackman's first major professional acting gig and marked one of the first times the man appeared in public. This series was fairly popular in Australia, but more importantly, it brought Jackman a significant relationship, as he and Furness quickly became attached and were married shortly after. Her support and encouragement would be instrumental as Jackman pursued a career that would take him around the world. He continued to acquire experience on stage through smaller television roles throughout Australia. Undeniably talented, he was yet to be discovered by the world of entertainment. He continued doing theaters and musicals for his livelihood, playing Gaston in Beauty and the Beast on stage and as Curly in Oklahoma. Doors opened for him in the West End of London, building up a reputation as one of those versatile performers who could do drama as well as musical theater. His big break came with the role of Wolverine in the film X-Men. The film initially had the Scottish actor Dougray Scott, but went to Jackman because of scheduling conflicts which put the casting team in a rush to find his replacement. His friend and fellow actor Russell Crowe, who knew about Jackman's work and talent, recommended him. As it were, It had been all along a real gamble until the audition, during which he impressed the director, Bryan Singer, with the raw intensity and depth he would bring to the character. Of course, the role of Wolverine proved to be a career-changing experience for Jackman, defining his screen roles for many subsequent years. For the role of Wolverine, he needed to undergo extreme physical training in order to achieve a powerful, muscular-looking physique. Other than the physical transformation, he related more to the character on a deeper level. This characterization spoke to Wolverine's anger and sense of loss because of his mother's abandonment. The film X-Men became an unexpected box office hit and catapulted Jackman to international fame. Critically, his role as Wolverine received a glowing review for raw intensity mixed with intriguing subtlety. That role provided him with the much-needed platform to break into Hollywood, and he went on to return to that character in several sequels and became identified with Wolverine globally. His dedication to the character and franchise for nearly 2 decades speaks volumes about his commitment to the character and his passion for the art. Off-screen, Jackman is full of humility and committed to giving back. Speaking highly of the journey he had to take in being angry and abandoned, he was hoping he would serve as an inspiration to those who have been undergoing various struggles. The acting was healing for him, and he poured his personal struggles into performances that have captured the attention of people from all over the globe. Jackman's journey shows the character of resilience and the very essence of pursuing one's passion. Amid the struggles, Jackman seemed to find solace in his marriage. The love story of Hugh Jackman and Deborah Lee Furness has always been spoken about as one of Hollywood's most intriguing marriages. This partnership, which began in the mid-90s, brought him comfort and support amid his busy life. Although the marriage had its own share of problems, like difficulty with childbirth and finally a decision to divorce after 27 years of married life, they have still remained respectful towards each other and committed co-parents for their children. Jackman and Furness met in 1995 on the sets of the Australian TV series Corelli, where they were cast. Jackman was fresh out of drama school on one of his first professional acting jobs and immediately taken by Furness, who was at the time an extremely established actress in Australia and 10 years his senior. Despite the age gap between them and the fact she was a big star when he was starting out in his career, he fell for her warmth and sense of humor. Of course, they soon became friends, but Jackman was very slow to make his move, as he wasn't sure if the feelings were mutual. A few weeks later, it got too much for Jackman to keep all to himself. Of course, once he did let Furness in on how he felt, she let him know the feelings were mutual. From friends, the romance began to blossom until their engagement 4 months later. In 1996, Jackman and Furness were married in a private Melbourne ceremony with approximately 100 guests. Both valued and respected each other, and the wholesome premise provided a firm foundation with which to establish their long-term relationship. Right from the beginning, Jackman and Furness were pretty candid about the challenge of carving out time for each other in the midst of their growing schedule. The demands notwithstanding, both prioritized their relationship and bonded over their shared values. As Jackman and Furness settled into married life, they looked forward with anticipation to having a family. This was, however, met by their unforeseen struggle with fertility problems in the form of repeated miscarriages, further coupled with futile treatments. Later, Jackman spoke about the heartache they went through in this period and claimed that he and Furness felt an overwhelming sadness for not being able to come to terms with probably never having their biological offspring. This emotional turmoil couldn't tear them apart. Instead, Jackman and Furness looked at each other for strength. They found their comfort in each other and promised themselves that they would get to be parents someday. Much later, the couple decided to adopt. From the day they consented and adopted, hope and joy returned, and in 2000 they adopted their first child, a son whom they called Oscar. A second daughter, Ava, joined through adoption in 2005. Parenting was one of the most rewarding aspects of Jackman's life. He generally made it a point to praise Furness for being such an incredible teacher in the parenting journey. Jackman talked a lot about the joy that the children had brought into their lives. They were both present in bringing up Oscar and Ava with love, teaching them the value of family and self-acceptance. Both made active moves to keep their children level-headed, despite all the fame surrounding Jackman, by keeping their personal and family life as far away as humanly possible from the public eye and filling them with humbleness and empathy. For the last couple of decades, Jackman and Furness were symbols of Hollywood perfection. They were spotted together on numerous occasions through red carpets, events, and interviews, always seeming to hold each other in very high regard. However, just like with many long-term relationships, they also had moments of stress. As the children grew older and as Jackman's profession became more hectic, bonding over these years had grown increasingly difficult to nurture. Long periods of separation due to busy schedules were a common feature in this couple's life, and priorities in life kept shifting with time. The first hint of tension in this relationship came when Jackman started attending different events alone. That absence was even more noticed at the 2023 Met Gala when Jackman hit the red carpet solo, starting speculation about the couple's status. Naturally, the speculation didn't get any answer from either Jackman or Furness because, well, they keep their private lives private. It actually wasn't until later in 2023 that they announced their decision to separate. In a jointly released statement, the two said that they love and respect each other profoundly and are grateful for the time they have spent together. However, separation was what they considered to be the best way to do right, not only for ourselves, but for their most beloved Oscar and Ava. Friends and family of the couple said this had been a long time coming, and both Jackman and Furness were committed to making sure the transition was as seamless as possible for their children. Unlike most celebrity breakups, the separation between Jackman and Furness was impressively handled in the most gracious manner by both parties. They both made their children understand through this change that they were behind them. Jackman would now attend events alone, but spoke highly of Furness and the influence she had on his life and career. Friends say that despite the breakup, the two remained very close and set a sterling example of how an amicable separation should look. Both Jackman and Furness were committed to their duty of co-parenting. They would show up to major family events, support their kids in whatever pursuit, and even show up as one big, happy family at whatever public event needs them to do so for the sake of their family. Jackman was quoted as telling friends and family that the kids needed to know, first and foremost, that family came first, and that Mommy and Daddy would always be there for Oscar and Ava. Their separation did not base its foundation on any dislike or conflict within the family, but rather on a premise of personal growth for each of the family members. And this they explained to the children, therefore creating an understanding and stability in the minds of their children. Fans and onlookers were impressed with how respectfully Jackman and Furness handled the breakup. They were no longer a couple but had maintained some level of sanity. However, despite the family bond, this separation marked yet another tragic separation for Jackman. In addition to that, he has dealt with some other major tragedies. He has had to deal with family losses, the deaths of close friends, and an ongoing struggle with skin cancer, alongside a very successful acting career. Experiences in these forms not only shaped his perspective on life, but deepened his compassion for humanity and enforced his advocacy for health awareness. One of the most profound moments in his life was the death of his father in September 2021. Jackman has always been close to his father, who brought him and his 4 siblings up single-handedly after their mother left the family when he was 8. His father's dedication to bringing them up left a mark on Jackman, instilling in him values such as discipline, kindness, and resilience. His father became both mother and father to his children, exerting himself in the process of putting food on the table and being a constant presence in his children's lives. Often, Jackman would talk of his father in great admiration, pointing at how much he learned from his example. When Christopher Jackman passed away on Father's Day, The loss was in particular a bad taste for Jackman, who refers many times to his father as his hero. He took to social media with his sorrow, calling his father's passing heartbreaking and a loss that had left him with a deep void. Besides his family, Jackman has lost very close friends. He shared a deep friendship with Heath Ledger, an Australian actor whom he admired for his immense talent, kindness, and commitment to the craft. The sudden death of Ledger in 2008 from an accidental overdose sent shockwaves across the entertainment industry, and even Jackman himself went into shock upon receiving the news. He mourned the immense loss of Ledger's talent and the greatness that he could have achieved as an artist, just like the rest of the world. The death of Ledger really had an effect that lasted in Jackman's thoughts. Later, he made statements about awareness of mental health and how tough the industry is to be in for many actors. As time went by, Jackman's empathetic and introspective feelings about the mental pressures in Hollywood deepened even more, with a continued call for support, especially for young actors facing challenges in the industry. Then, of course, was the great friendship he had with the actor Robin Williams. The bond the two shared in striving within the entertainment industry and respect for comedy and performance essentially brought them together. When Williams died in 2014, it really shook Jackman. He termed him as one of a kind and the kind of guy who made any other person feel special. Following Williams' death, Jackman took a deeper reflection about mental health and self-care in general. Apart from these personal losses, Jackman has been fighting skin cancer since 2013. He was diagnosed in 2013 during a routine checkup with basal cell carcinoma, a very common but potentially hazardous kind of skin cancer. It became a wake-up call for him as he had been indifferent about protecting himself from the sun in his earlier years. He was born and brought up in Australia, and during his childhood, Jackman used to spend much time outside without wearing sunscreen. That factor might have been one of the reasons for his diagnosis. To date, he has undergone several treatments to remove all sorts of cancerous cells, first from his nose and then from other body parts. Although it's a condition that's ongoing, Jackman has brought a positive outlook and an active attitude to it. He supports awareness about skin cancer openly, regularly posting his experiences online and asking fans to take protection from the sun protection seriously. His frankness in discussing his condition made Jackman the face of early detection and preventive care, still reminding people to get skin checks and wear sunscreen. He described feeling a mix of fear and determination because these treatments reminded him of just how fragile health can be and how one should not lose hope. The way Jackman has been dealing with his skin cancer diagnosis has been pretty motivational on many levels, balancing his professional life with family and health aspects. He is still thankful for being diagnosed on time and has since been getting his condition checked regularly to avoid further complications. These experiences have contributed to the deep resilience and compassionate approach to life that Jackman has. Each of these tragedies has different pain, but Jackman grew from them and found meaning. He is still driven by his relationship with his late father, and memories of his friends work to inspire his effort to raise awareness about mental health in Hollywood. In both interviews and through his social media, Jackman often sends words of thanks and encouragement, reinforcing a message that hardships can help one appreciate life even more and be ever watchful about health. His life, which has been filled with losses and ongoing challenges, really embodies a courageous and compassionate way of being. Each of the tragedies for Jackman was also a reminder of important things in his life, which he continues to hold in high regard. We wish the actor a quick recovery, and we hope to see you in the next video.